no countdown?
No, they're supposed to be, when you say recording, it's about 2 seconds after. Okay, you do that.
Okay. You point to me, I point to them.
Cut, let's try it again.
What happened to our countdown?
I don't know. Did you want to do a countdown?
Jeez.
That was great.
That was good.
20 seconds.
Smile, Gary.
Loosen up.
Hey, Charlie gave me direction on the camera.
What's that?
I think I was screwing up on the camera, so.
Quiet on the side, 10 seconds.
Do you
10
want me to tell
seconds.
you when I'm on?
We're on live.
On live.
Good afternoon and welcome to Teachers on TV, a one-hour program brought to you by Missoula Community Access Television and 9 educators in the Missoula area. My name is Gary Stein and I'm joined this afternoon by Chris Kuschel, and we'll be talking to the participants in today's project, a 2-day project that does reflect the work of 9 individuals from the Missoula County area. The program in no way expresses the opinions of MCAT or the Missoula County Public Schools. Our thanks today to people from MCAT who have helped us out: Gwen Hoppy, our producer today and a video instructor here at MCAT, and Mary Canty, the co-assistant director of Missoula Community Access Television. We'd like to ask you for your opinions and ideas today. We'll be talking mostly about education-related issues, but we may delve into sports, current events of a national and international variety. Feel free to call us at 542-MCAT, that's 542-6228. And in just a couple of minutes, we'll be meeting some of these educators who have worked on this 2-day project, Teachers on TV. First, Chris Kuschel works with the Missoula Curriculum Consortium. So why don't you start the show off and tell us what you do?
Thank you, Gary. The Missoula Curriculum Consortium was formed by area districts for the purpose of delivering services in a cost-effective manner. For example, a project in the works now is that K-8 students in area districts all feed into the Missoula city system at the high school level, and we're working on aligning their curriculum so that whether they attend school in Bonner or Target Range, when they end up in the high school system, they all have some things in common that they know and are able to do.
So you bring together teachers and administrators so that the education is delivered to all students across the board in the most effective way.
That's right. And we also look at aligning the assessment, the student assessment, for the purpose of strengthening the instructional focus.
And how long has the consortium been around?
The consortium has been in existence about 5 years now, and it does take time, but we are all on the same curriculum development cycle and are working on the same subject areas. We just completed curriculum documents in language arts, library media, and this year we're working on aligning the mathematics curriculum. It is a review process. They do already exist, but every few years we need to look at that and see if it's still appropriate.
Now, for some of our listeners who might be parents or interested in education, is there a way that they can get involved either at the local level or through the consortium?
Certainly. We always encourage parents to be as involved in their child's education as they can be, and they could certainly contact me or any teacher and start there.
And you're located at the school district building on 6th Avenue, is that correct?
Right. There is a consortium office on 6th Street at the Missoula Administration Building.
Great. And so you're really enjoying what you're doing right now, working with teachers and organizing that information?
Yes, it's basically facilitating that curriculum development. The teachers are in the field and know what is happening, and it gives them an opportunity to get together and share those ideas and really determine what is best.
Excellent.
For
And
their
can we
students.
change the subject a little bit and ask you about your friend here?
Actually, this belongs to Charlie.
Charlie Byrne, one of our camera people
saving
today,
it
our
for
stage director.
Charlie.
So let's bring Charlie on right now. It's an appropriate time. I think they call that
Yes.
a segue.
Excellent.
Charlie Byrne is a Spanish teacher at Hellgate High School. Has been there, I believe I said for 6 years, maybe I didn't. Senor Byrne is much respected by the students in the community. I can say that after having taught at Hellgate for a couple of years. Charlie, how are you today?
Doing just fine, doing fine.
Great. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what is going on at Hellgate, in particular the SAVE program, S-A-V-E. What's that all about?
Students Against Violating the Environment. It's a program working on recycling, clean water, clean air issues. Lots of different projects that they're working on. And this year, Tom Graff is the advisor, and I'm just kind of helping him along with a couple of other teachers. And yeah, they're doing lots.
Are these mostly school-based projects or community-based projects?
It's a little bit of everything. Right now, there are 4 or 5 kids that are in Helena doing a presentation for the MEA conference on Hellgate's SAVE program and what it's done and how teachers in other schools can help their kids get something like this started. They did win an award last year for a lot of the work they did, so they're talking about that now.
And this is something open to all students?
For sure, yeah.
Okay. We have a caller, so why don't we pick this up and...
Hello, caller one. You're on the air. Could you speak up? There's a banana in my ear. Oh.
I put her up to that, folks. That was something I made her do, so. And apparently the
Caller
president hung
one
up.
hung
Apparently
up.
it was actually a banana caller, so.
It was a banana caller.
And then remember, if you want to call, feel free, 542-MCAT. The numbers, for those of you that can't spell it, but you should be able to. This is an education show after all. 542-6228.
I'd like to have fun, too. Please call back.
Charlie, another program you're involved in is Amnesty International, which is a worldwide organization, but branches at the school, how does that work?
It's pretty impressive. It's a group of kids, mostly freshmen last year that got together and asked me if I'd like to be their advisor. And they're meeting weekly, doing fundraisers to raise money to pay for postage, to send letters in terms of international human rights violations, and we're working on becoming a student group through kind of a membership group, which means you have more responsibilities and it costs quite a bit of money. But we're working towards that as a goal. But yeah, those kids meet every week and have done a lot of good things, as well as educating the other students at school and the teachers too. Yeah, one thing I wanted to say about SAVE also, this year something new we have going, and the kids did this pretty much on their own. When we came back this fall, they had purchased large red garbage cans, cut out circles on the top and wrote on the side what that they could take glass and aluminum and plastic. And so they have those throughout the school now. Every Wednesday they recycle after school, take everything down to the recycling center, and so we have all that. Well, they also recycle paper. They've done that in the past, but the cans and bottles are new, and so they're hitting that really hard and having a lot of success. It's been great.
Yeah, I don't want to put a damper on. Unfortunately, there was some news in the paper this morning. I don't know
Yeah.
if you read about the inability to recycle glass.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's only one outlet left in town on that.
Right. Right. So all that's
Can't
really
remember
good.
the name of the business. I don't know if we're allowed to mention it, but brown glass is apparently all that's left to
Yeah.
recycle. Is there any plans? Maybe the students buy the plastic Coke bottles. Is there any plans that either to recycle that or to look at that as some?
We are recycling those now.
Okay.
The plastic, but yeah, it's just we just heard news last Wednesday, so it's new news to us too.
Great. And Charlie is also the tennis coach at Hellgate, so I
Yeah.
know it's kind of early, but what's the prognosis for the season?
Looks great. Jonas Sanford is going to be a senior this year and took second at state last year. Took fourth at state the year before, so he'll be back. He'll be really tough. Also, Mark Ellingson will be a real tough player, and Trina Running, who's gone to state the last 2 years, will be good also. And yeah, it should be a lot
Guaranteeing
of fun.
victory now?
Oh yeah, it's in the bag.
Well, Charlie will get back to work at one of the many jobs that are here to do at MCAT, but we want to thank you for coming
Okay.
on.
Yeah,
And
thanks for having me.
want to bring on our next guest, who's now operating one of the cameras, so we're doing all the switching as things go along, and thanks for your understanding that. The nature of MCAT is people from the community, citizens who participate in this because they want to participate in it, and we're all working at it together. So Hope you're enjoying yourself, and at this time we'd like to bring our second guest. Feel free to cut in front of the camera. Nancy Typinski. Nancy is a substitute teacher. We want to ask a little bit about that, K through 8. Has subbed for a number of years and lived in Saudi Arabia, so maybe we'll ask you a couple of questions on that in a few minutes. And the quilt that's behind us today is courtesy of Nancy's work, and so we may even get a chance to talk about that. We're trying to get everybody a chance here in the spotlight. Nancy actually covers a lot of different areas. Grant writing also is one of her specialties. So let's talk about substitutes first, because a lot of people probably don't appreciate what you have to do. What are the qualifications and the responsibilities of being a substitute teacher?
Well, I think you just have to be very versatile and willing to be on call. Usually I get a call at 6:30 in the morning, and they tell me where I'm supposed to go for the day, so I never know what grade or what school, so you have to really be on your toes.
How much notice do you get in the morning when you get an assignment?
Well, they usually call between 6:30 and 7:30, and so that's all the time you have. So I'm usually up and ready,
And
ready
school
to go.
often starts in traveling across town.
Right. You have to take that into consideration.
What's the strangest substitute assignment you've ever had?
Well, I walked into one class and they were dissecting pig hearts. And so all of a sudden I became an expert on pig hearts. But you just have to be versatile. You just have to have a good attitude and
Do you think it takes a different type of person to sub as opposed to going in every day? I think as teachers sometimes we don't appreciate the fact that there is that diversity because we're used to a standard formula. You think it takes a certain type of personality to do that work?
Well, I just think you have to be very versatile, very open. Teachers do things in a different way, and you have to follow the lesson plans and cover the areas that they want you to do, and forget about how you would do it necessarily, or how I would do it, and just try to do the lesson plans the best you can. So that's my kind of motto.
And what was Saudi Arabia like, to change the subject?
Oh, well, that was a private school, and that was wonderful. No discipline problems there. And the multiculture was interesting, so.
Okay,
Excuse
take a
me.
second, see if we have a caller here.
Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, I have a question pertaining to the fine arts program here in Missoula. I'm an artist, and I've been trying to follow the discussion surrounding the fine arts program and the funding, and I just wondered if you guys kind of were up on the status of what's going on in future funding, or if there's been any decisions made, or is there a lot of dialogue right now?
Well, as everyone knows, resources are more and more limited as time goes on, and choices have to be made. We can't have everything. We have to start making some choices. And as you are well aware, last spring there was a big controversy about maybe cutting out a big chunk of extracurricular programs, and you're right. And as far as I know, that is being maintained because the community was very supportive, and our schools certainly reflect what the community wants and needs. And as far as I know, it's been kept intact.
And if you are interested in it, the process to go through is, I think, the hardest thing that people have in terms of dealing. When does the district budget, and when does it have these meetings? Because the public is encouraged to speak out in fine arts. They have, and that's why programs have been maintained. But you should call the district and ask for sort of the scheduling of how they will go about that budgeting process, which starts rather early. So it's starting now for a springtime event. The scuttlebutt that I've heard at school is that I haven't heard of any major cuts. I haven't heard of any substantial cuts. But Chris is right. The budget being what it is, you're never surprised to see that. But the process takes so long that you always have a time to put your 2 cents in on that score.
Right, that's good. I've been to some school board meetings where people from the public have spoken out, and it's just really nice that our community is so interested. And thanks. I'm glad that things are still intact. I wasn't sure what was going on. So
Thanks
for having your show too.
Oh, yeah, we're keeping things intact as much as we can as well. Thanks for your call. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Thank you for calling.
Okay, I don't,
Yes.
is that line blinking? No, that was only our second line. Well, thanks for calling. Remember, the phone number here is 542-MCAT. I never remember the number, so I have to look it up, 542-6228. Nancy, we want to thank you for being with us today. Sorry we didn't get a chance to talk about quilting, but
Oh, that's all right.
we might. We don't know what our time schedule
I did
looks
want to
like.
ask if anyone out there knows anything about grant writing. I'd like to hear from them. I'd like to get some input as to writing a grant and using MCAT. This has been a fun experience.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank
And
you,
maybe we
Nancy.
should remember to ask some folks about what they've thought about going through this process. It's different for us because we'll get to talk to everybody else, so we want to hear what the folks here have to say about their experience. Our next guest is Tim Morin. Tim is supposed to be walking towards us right now. Tim is at Hellgate Middle School. Some people call it Hellgate Elementary. We'll ask Tim for clarification on that. Works on special projects at Hellgate Middle School, and perhaps you could talk about that. And there's a number of different things at Hellgate Middle School that Tim wants to talk about and that we want to talk with Tim about. So, Tim, how are you?
I'm fine, Gary. How's it going out here?
It's going well. Oh, okay. I guess I'll start things off. Tim, why don't you tell us about one of the things that's going on at Hellgate Middle School, thematic units. I mean, it sounds like some jargon, so why don't you clarify that for us so we know what's going on?
Thematic units includes each of the content areas: math, social studies, science, and language arts. And it's a way to get kids hooked up into their content areas through a specific interest. For instance, one of the most successful ones that we have is the chess unit, where kids are caught up in the fantasy and the writings of personifications regarding chess pieces. We bring in Greg Nowak, who's the state chess master, who comes in and plays 50 chess matches at once against 7th graders.
The octopus, right?
The octopus, yeah. He comes in and plays them. And thematic units are a great way to get kids at that age level highly motivated in their subject areas.
And how do you, what role do you play in incorporating those thematic units? Are these subject area teachers you work with, or are these units that you have the opportunity to develop? So think about that, and we'll go to a caller first. Maybe we won't. We thought the line was working. Maybe it isn't. But how do you work on the thematic units?
Well, I help organize the logistical things that the kids have to do. We move 120 7th graders from room to room. We have to get them in the gymnasium. We do some filming with video cameras of our work. I help in the writing lab with kids, help them with their writings and those kinds of things. We also have done a presentation over MetNet, which was broadcasted across the state to other educators around the state, and had 7th graders interviewed, and where they shared their drawings. The kids make up their chess boards. They make up their own chess pieces. Some of the kids did drawings of costuming ideas for chess personalities, and then we at one time costumed a bunch of the students and some of the teachers and did a full life-size chess game in the gymnasium where the 7th graders played against the 8th graders, moving live chess pieces around.
And that's a takeoff on Louis XIV, if I'm not mistaken, back at Versailles. He used to actually move human pieces as chess
Exactly.
pieces.
Gary, the history guy.
You see, once in a while, those history lessons come in handy.
I think I'll take the opportunity now to announce that publicly that we're hoping to get hooked up with the University Drama Department with the chess unit, where we have actors come out and act out scenes from various plays so that the 7th graders can see the drama of live action theater. Then the 7th graders will go back to their writing lab and write their own scripts, personifications and or scripts that then will be used by the university actors and performed with help from the 7th graders for the whole school.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm. Do you involve parents in this project, or what are your feelings about parents being involved in their child's education?
There's a lot of parents who step forward for the various thematic units that we have. Chess is only one of the thematic units. We also do an aviation unit, and we also do an economic unit. And
Goodness.
a lot of parents step forward to help out with those.
Wonderful. We have a caller. Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Oh, hi. I'm curious about how you use television and video in the schools, if you do, if you think that it is something useful in our schools and in society, television in general, or if you think, it's something that we should all be really critical about? And do you have any ideas of how it could be used?
Excellent. Well, I can first speak to that saying that, like any piece of technology, television is another tool. It's what you do with it and how you use it, if it is used appropriately. Gary, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I definitely agree on the appropriate use of technology. I've always been a little concerned about just turning the TV on and walking out of the room. I think modeling the behavior for students when you turn on the TV is important, which means you sometimes have to sit and watch a film for the 8th, 10th time in your teaching career, just so that the students know that it's important enough for them to watch it as well. But I think the relationship you develop with students is much more important, the personal relationship you develop. But there's certainly a place for film. There's a course I've been dying to teach in U.S. history about film in American history. So if we can offer that as an elective, we'd be spending a lot of time watching film, but we'd have to make sure there's content there as well. So that's the important thing.
I've seen great history programs, documentaries on TV, and those are great for kids to see. I also see a lot of kids wasting a lot of time watching TV, and I usually advocate that parents kill their television and get the kids into the books instead.
I was going to ask you that. Is your impression that we are just a TV zone society? I mean, since working with kids, what kind of feedback do you have for the public about that?
Well, I'll claim to be the TV monster. I mean, I love the thing. I know it's designed to sort of suck you in a lot of ways, and we get caught up in channel surfing and everything else, but I think you can be selective about it. So I don't think we should blame the technology more than we should blame ourselves. If something controls us, then we're to blame for that now, because we allowed that to happen. So I don't think we're TV zoned out or anything like that. I think some people may be. There are some people who maybe should watch a little TV, find out what's going on in another part of the world, but we're the ones who can take control of that. I think as individuals we need to do that.
And we're fortunate in this community to have MCAT, to have the community access, to incorporate that in many ways, whether it's as a career path for students, if they want to choose going into television, they can learn about it here or learn to produce their own shows. We have a lot of opportunities. Caller, can you add anything to that? What are your opinions?
Well, I guess I have a 5-year-old son, and he really does like to watch TV, and it's something I don't want to seem overly controlling on that issue, but it's really a concern to me. I mean, I really feel like the best situation is when I have the time to sit down with him and watch, because then, I mean, instead of making it kind of just he and the TV and kind of getting into that kind of strange relationship, I think in general children's programming is better than it was a decade ago. Definitely there are more choices, but I really am genuinely curious about that, especially in work with kids older than my son, is what are you finding as educators? You know, are you finding that kids really are just really, really focused on television, or are they a little more diverse, maybe? I'm hoping they're more diverse in our town.
And to use a cliche, the parent is the first teacher. I think you're wise to monitor what that child sees and hears and discuss it if it's controversial or...
There's a lot of programming that's seemingly innocent, whether it's movies or on TV or Saturday morning cartoons, that need parents to interpret that material or to screen it out completely. There's a lot of that stuff that really is junk, and I think personally that there's a lot of kids that watch too much TV and too much junk TV, and they're picking up some negative values from the TV. I think some TV programs contribute to confusion with kids. I work with middle school age kids, and they're starting into adolescence and going through puberty, and a lot of the programming that is overly sexual, I think, causes confusion for middle school students. They don't know how to think about the other person. They don't know how to think about their own sexuality. And so I think parents should be screening those programs and helping the kids out with that. And the same with a lot of these movies, Hollywood movies, that have some of the slapstick stuff. Some of it goes way overboard and needs also to be screened out.
Sounds good. Caller, thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you.
You betcha. Take care. Tim, one last thing that I wanted to ask you about. We asked all our educators to give us some information and background about what they do. Elbow-to-elbow time. What is elbow-to-elbow time? Explain the concept maybe. And
well, elbow-to-elbow time is what I recommend for parents to do more of with their children. If a parent has to sit down and read a newspaper or is paying bills or something like that, that might be a good time to have the TV off, and for the kid and the parent to be sitting side by side at a table, enjoying some elbow-to-elbow time and so that the kid can get the homework done. Oftentimes a kid can do the homework but doesn't want to miss out on the action in the household. And if the TV's off and the parent is sitting there quietly reading and modeling that academic type behavior, then the kid is more likely to sit down and do the same.
Excellent. How long have you been at Hellgate Elementary? I'm not sure.
6 years.
6 years. Enjoying it pretty well out there?
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, thanks for coming on today. And again, if you want to ask Tim any other questions, you can probably reach him at Hellgate Middle School. He's a very accessible teacher and proud to say an old friend as well. So thanks for coming on today. Thanks for participating. Have you enjoyed yourself this time here?
Yep, it's great. It's fun.
And where are you off to now in the production?
I'm heading back in there. I'm going to take over for Ray, I think, and be one of the directors or producers or something like that.
Sounds good. Good job. Keep up the good work.
Okay.
We're trusting that everything's working okay.
Everything's going well.
It's all magic. Our next guest is Peggy Cordell. Peggy is presently at Hellgate High School. Excuse me. She's been a library media specialist, a technology coordinator, and now, if I'm not mistaken, is a reading teacher. Welcome, Peggy.
That's correct. Gary, hi.
How's it going?
Very well, thanks.
Why don't you tell us about Hellgate High School, a couple of things. One is the Future Problem Solvers.
I just took over as a school liaison for the Future Problem Solver program. It was established in the middle schools a number of years ago. And it's a 6-step problem-solving technique that a group of students, usually numbering 5 or 6, will use. And they compete with other students across the state and the nation. And generally the questions are scientific in nature, but not always. And they have to do with problems of the future. This particular practice problem that we're working on now is homes of the future. And there are 5 Hellgate High School students. This is a pilot year for the program at Hellgate. And we've taken it on, and they're writing their practice problem on Tuesday night.
Excellent. And this is a new program, pilot program, you said?
For the high school it is. It's been established in the middle schools for a number of years.
And Sentinel Big Sky doing this yet? Or we haven't heard about this there?
Not yet, and mostly because the students who have been involved in the program before came from the feeder school, Rattlesnake Middle School.
And this is your first or second year at Hellgate? You had been in administration before that?
This is my first year at Hellgate High School in the reading program. Previous to that, I was technology coordinator for Missoula County Public Schools for 2 years, and as technology coordinator and library media specialist at Hellgate Elementary before that for 9 years.
We just want to point out that teachers and administrators can get together. Sometimes you hear that we can't. But Peggy can go back and forth, which means we can all get along. And we're all working towards the same things. Why don't you tell us about an event that has become annual? I think it's 4 years in the running now. Kumamoto High School in Japan, and the sister relationship they have with Hellgate High School.
We have a sister school relationship with Kumamoto, and their students are arriving in Missoula this week. We will be having a welcome assembly on Wednesday morning. The students will be actively participating in classes, and my co-teacher and I plan to have some of the Japanese students come into our classroom and prepare various educational experiences such as origami, things like that.
And it has been going 4 years. You said an assembly is coming up. Now, when is that going to be? A school-wide assembly?
A school-wide assembly, Wednesday morning.
That's the 23rd of October.
Correct.
And the public could probably filter in if they wanted to check that out as well. Okay.
Our school doors are always open.
And that's good to know about all the schools as well. It seemed like I'd written something else, but I hadn't. But tell us a little bit about your hiking in the Rattlesnake. I mean, you had mentioned that you enjoy doing that, and there's something tied in with recreation programs that are available here in town.
Well, I like to hike up the Rattlesnake Wilderness Trail. It's close to my home. There are a number of hiking opportunities available throughout Missoula. And there are various programs also associated either with City Parks and Recreation or through the MAVIS program, and I can't remember exactly what that acronym stands for. They offer some educational programs in the Rattlesnake and out in other areas like the Patty Canyon Campground on the environment and species that we might find when we're hiking.
All right, good deal. Anything, Chris, that you were interested in right now?
It sounds as though you've covered the gamut. It sounds to me as though Hellgate is doing involved in some very progressive activities and innovative.
Well, even though it's only my first year there, I'm fitting in very well, and I'm truly enjoying it.
Excellent.
working with students again.
And what do you think about what we're doing here today?
Oh, this is a truly wonderful experience. I've been back there working on audio, and you really have to control the input, especially when callers call in, because they're much louder than the people on the set here.
So advice to folks who call, and this is a good time to remind them, you can call at 542-MCAT, 542-6228. I didn't have to look at the notes this time. I think I got it right.
Great. Should have that memorized by now, huh?
After 30 minutes, you finally get it right. But Peggy, thanks for coming on today, and
Thanks.
and you're off to one of these other functions now?
Well, back to audio, I think.
Back to audio. Making sure the needles don't get pinned or anything like
Right.
Well, after
Right.
only 2 hours of instruction, I feel everyone's doing a fantastic
Yeah,
job.
so
This
far.
is rather nerve-wracking live.
But
Some of
thanks
us.
for everybody else's participation. Makes our job pretty easy, I think.
You bet.
So
Yes.
thanks, Peggy.
Thank
And
you.
let's see who we have next on our little list here. Oh, I think it's Ray Curtis, and this may be the
The
big
director.
blowout of the show, our director to date. And so if somebody could pick up Ray's position, then... oh, we've gone off the air. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. But Ray Curtis, Big
Hi,
Sky
Ray.
High School, been there for 10 years. Good to see you.
Good to see you,
Former
Ray.
basketball coach, got out of the coaching game for a little while.
I'm in a different game now.
In a different game.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that as well. Ray does teach government and U.S. history, so in a couple of minutes maybe talk about the election a little bit and get some views from students and find out what you might be doing in the classroom. You're working on your master's degree right now in constitutional history. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, because it's an opportunity for other teachers and teachers-to-be, correct?
I was awarded a fellowship through James Madison Foundation, and one teacher in each state every year is awarded this, and it pays for all of a person's graduate studies. They're generous in that they pay not only for tuition and books, but they also pay some of the room and board costs for teachers, and so it's an award up to $24,000, and it will take care of my graduate studies. And the idea behind the foundation is to better educate social studies teachers on the Constitution, so they are able to teach in their content area better.
And the fellowship is sponsored by a fairly esteemed group of Americans. This is money that has been generated through a government agency, if I'm not
It was created by the Congress, the chairmen of the board, whom, when we were able to go to Washington, D.C. the summer before last, every summer teachers who are awarded are required to go to a summer institute. We were able to meet some of these people. Edward Kennedy is on the board of directors, Senator Orwin Hatch. So it is a pretty remarkable group of people. We had an opportunity to speak with Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, got to meet the president after hearing a speech that he gave on religious freedom. So it's a great opportunity.
If you have Orrin Hatch and Ted Kennedy on both sides, you've encompassed everybody, haven't you?
It's like
Any
watching a
fist
tennis
fights
game.
between those guys?
No, they got along well then.
Kind of hoping that might hear some fireworks. So to tie into the elections in 1996, what is going on with the mood of the high school students, at least at Big Sky?
At Big Sky High School, I think that they're a pretty good reflection of how many people feel. They're not as interested in the presidential race because it's seems to be, according to polls, quite a difference in the margin there. But we've tried to emphasize in the classroom that there are a lot of other things that students need to be aware of. The initiatives, the race for Senate between Rehberg and Bacchus, and that there are House seats, and there are Montana Senate races and House races, and county commissioner race seems to be heating up. So we've tried to talk about those as well, and the issues related to those.
So you're really making your topics relevant to what's happening today and to the students.
And the students are involved. In my class, we have a government participation assignment where they are required to go to meetings, they're required to write letters. I have them going out and getting campaign signs so we can put those up and we can see who's running in the different races. But the rule is that they cannot be from people's yards. So no staples or sticks on them.
And you're not following the old Chicago rule of vote early, vote often, no stuffing ballot boxes or anything like
Oh,
that?
we actually are going to take part in a
You are
mock
gonna-
election, and so that might happen.
You need to have people check on voter fraud and things of that nature.
On October 29th, we're going to set up voting booths, and students will come in and they will register because we have a list of all the students generated by the school. And so on their free time during the day, they will come in and they will vote. And then our results will be tabulated and added on to the results of other schools throughout the nation. So they are getting involved.
Yeah, well, we hear a lot in the news about, boy, people just don't care, they aren't involved, and we're getting a little different picture here. What's the myth versus the reality? I mean, what's your take on that? You've been teaching for a number of years. Have you seen students stay continually involved, excited? Do they lose it a little bit?
I guess I see as my role, one of my roles is to show students how to become involved, and I don't think sometimes they're shown that well enough. So that's why I had them participate in a number of different ways. One other way they're going to participate this upcoming week is they will be part of an audience that will be broadcast over, I'm not sure, I believe statewide TV for the gubernatorial debates. That'll be at the University of Montana Theater on the 23rd. Then the 24th, there are debates between, there will be a debate between Rick Hill and Bill Yellowtail, and they'll participate there. And then on Halloween night, the Senate opponents will go against each other, and students will participate there too. The League of Women Voters was kind enough to include us.
Now, would you like to place any wagers? We'll go down the list here.
All right.
Based on what you've heard,
I'm thinking
from
the
students,
Yankees.
From students, that's true. We have a World Series question for you as well. From what you've heard from students, try to predict the following races: Baucus versus Rehberg for the United States Senate. Baucus the incumbent, Rehberg the challenger, our lieutenant governor.
In my classes,
In your
it's pretty
classes.
close.
Would you give an
Between
edge
those
to
two.
either candidate?
I wouldn't even dare.
Anything students are getting better at expressing their own opinion, or are they parroting what they hear at home or on TV?
I think that they do think for themselves. One thing that I've tried to emphasize over and over again, though, is that their age group is one of the poorest in terms of voter turnout,
Right.
and that they need to voice their opinion. And actually, this may sound funny, but MTV has been really active in trying to do that. And the MTV Mobile came last spring.
Right.
A lot of them went down and
Registered
saw
voters.
that and registered to vote.
Right.
So those who are eligible to vote this year on November 5th, I think they are all are registered in my classes.
Excellent.
So hopefully
Okay,
they will
so
go out and vote.
now
then.
what about the Yellowtail, Bill Yellowtail and Rick Hill contest in your classes?
Well, I guess another thing I should probably point out, Gary, is I'm encouraging them to write me in on every opportunity they get. So I'm actually ahead of Bill Yellowtail and Rick Hill.
Excellent work. That's how we mold the minds of
That's
the
what I want to do. No. Actually, I believe that they are leaning towards Bill Yellowtail, especially after the Rick Hill faux pas.
Okay. And what about the very controversial I-122, the Clean Water Initiative, which seems to be about as contentious an issue as we have in the state?
We've been looking at political ads, and that's one of the issues that they've seen more ads on than anything is I-122. And I would say they would vote for I-122 at this point.
Hmm.
Yeah. Although I think polls say otherwise. Don't
Yeah,
they?
polls I believe say otherwise now, but of course Missoula is not generally reflective of the state. So
Exactly.
we'll see what
You've
happens
noticed
on
that in your classes, huh?
Yeah, just sort of stands out. Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's true. Chris, is there anything you hear from teachers about working on special curriculum information like elections, for example? And is there any way to put that all together at the consortium?
Well, we try to make the assignments as close to the real world as possible, and I think that's an excellent example that you're teaching them life skills to use after they're out of school, things they won't forget. And I guess on the other side of that, so often we hear criticisms of education, and when really a lot of good things are happening there, and I think especially in Missoula we need to open our eyes to all the positive things that are happening in our schools.
Absolutely.
I started doing student government this year, and we elected our class officers differently too. We elected them instead of the old method where they nominate in the homeroom. We're using the method that's used by adults, and so freshmen this year went into the voting booths and after signing their name, and went into the voting booth and used a secret ballot. So
it
I
works
think you're
at
right.
every
We need to
level.
model those things.
Works at every level.
Yeah.
Good deal. Well, Ray, thanks for coming in today, and you've been our director, so we hope things haven't fallen apart. See, it's all magic. When you're sitting here, it's all magic. So.
I have a lot of faith in Tim.
And where, and where are you heading now?
I think I will probably head back and work on the sound a little bit.
And have you enjoyed this opportunity to work here with the?
It's been great. I want to take advantage of it. I spoke with Joel from down here yesterday, and I would like to use it for our World War II oral history project this year, which hasn't been oral in the past. It has been written down, so we'd actually like to preserve some of those memories that people have. So wonderful opportunity.
Good deal.
It's been great to have.
And thanks for being with us today. And our next guest will end up being Judy
Well, if
Rainey.
you want to shoot a few.
It is Ray's basketball, not Charlie's, right?
Right, which I don't get to do much anymore because
Ray, former coach at Big Sky High School, now on the sidelines for a while. But
now my buddy Ben's at Hellgate, and I go yell at him.
Always a possibility you may come back, though.
Yeah,
okay,
that's true.
And he's taking his basketball away.
I'm gonna shoot a few hoops.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
And MCAT is sponsoring a program in the schools on oral histories, an opportunity for teachers to get together with their students, and with a facilitator here from MCAT who will record people's histories. Sounds like an excellent opportunity to share some common backgrounds or share some different backgrounds that people have, whether they were raised in Missoula, raised in western Montana, as Chris was, or whether they come from different places to Montana.
I'm glad it's not on me.
So let's bring Judy in.
Yes, our next guest is Judy.
Judy Rainey, first-year teacher at Sentinel High School in English and journalism. And Judy moved here from Texas, the Houston area.
Came up in June.
And you enjoying Montana life?
Oh, immensely.
Immensely. Are you getting ready for the change in temperature, though?
I've had a lot of advice. And I've asked a lot of questions, especially getting cars ready and things like that.
Now, have you ever experienced snow or not?
Well, I've had to fly somewhere to be in snow. And if it snows in Texas, it's a really exciting thing, and they shut down the whole city. I was in Houston, and it's pretty unusual. So I haven't experienced it on a regular basis, Gary.
Good luck. You take her up to Libby.
That's a thought.
That would be good. We should just go for a nice drive up to Libby, northwest corner of the state.
That's in the corner, yeah.
And just drop you off for a couple of days. Just see what it's like. It's lovely. Judy is teaching English, and one of the programs that she's been quite involved in at Sentinel is using multimedia in the classroom. You even brought an example of one of the products that you're using, and tell us a little bit about the program, about your interest in this area, and what you're doing.
Okay. She's stepped back from the camera, from working the camera.
That's right. I've had a headset on, and I've been behind one of the television cameras, which I'm really enjoying. That's my favorite place to be, is behind the camera.
Yes.
Typically with the 35 millimeter. Over the last few years, I was introduced to the digital camera, which I have here with me, and so I have taken every opportunity I can to have my students learn to use this. Teachers might be interested to know that, for one, it's a cost saver, because there is no film in this camera. It is digital. I brought along the cord because the way you would view the pictures that you take with this camera is to slide back that little panel, plug it in here, and then this plugs into the phone modem on the back of your computer. And with a software called QuickTake, there may be others. That's the one I'm familiar with. You then just feed the images into the computer. You could then print them out onto paper, or what I like to see done then is have my students make a presentation using a multimedia computer. Gary, we've talked a little bit about some projects I have going with my journalism students, and I probably have 10 groups of students that are making presentations either with a slideshow format or with a little more sophisticated software called Digital Chisel, which integrates video as well. I am teaching journalism 1 at Sentinel. A lot of the community know Dave Severson, so I'm kind of backing him up. He's still there going strong and supporting me. But I had the journalism 1 students go out and research the Missoula media. I'm new to the community, and I said, well, you need to teach me. What's out there? What do we have in this community? And I divided them up, and they have just grabbed this project. They've gone on interviews and taken their video cameras, and I encourage them to take the digital camera. Some have shot with regular 35 millimeter, and if they do that, then they come back to our lab and scan in the photo so that it becomes digital. And so they have gone on these interviews, and they're going to be making presentations to the class soon to tell us about the media. And I let them. I wanted this to be learner generated. I assign them a group, a media to research, but then I said, you tell me what you want to know. And I've seen some interesting angles on that, whether it be a man on the street interview, or one that I think is particularly interesting has to do with the use of the internet, which is becoming part of all of our vocabularies. I have two young men who decided to survey area businesses on how they use the internet, or if they do. So they created a survey and they faxed it to these businesses, and they're beginning to get those responses back. And so they'll report to the class who out there is using the internet. Are they using it as a news source, or how else are they using it? And they also will teach the class, how do I access the internet? They're using the computers in our school library, which is connected, and so they'll make a presentation, and they're going to include some interesting websites to visit too. So that one's one that I think is real timely.
Extremely active role you're taking for the first 3 months of school.
Well, just jump right in there.
Excellent. We had a caller before who asked about society, what we
Television.
observe. Yeah, what we observe. So maybe you could address that a little bit.
Well,
What do you see
basically,
in
what I'm trying to do in a Journalism 1 class is get these students to just look at the media and analyze it. Is it being responsible? That sort of thing. We have a caller?
I don't know if we do or not. Should we pick that up? We do have a caller on line 1, so let's punch it up and see how it goes.
Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Hi, I just wanted to know, what made you all want to do this TV show? Why did you want to do the TV show?
Well, actually, we're taking an in-service on how to use MCAT equipment, and we're doing this. This is part of the assignment, to apply the skills that we've learned. So that's really our purpose.
Well, I'm watching you all on TV, and you look like you're having fun. Are you having fun?
Absolutely.
Some more than others.
I'm a little nervous.
Who's the good-looking lady on TV? I don't know your name.
That would be
Chris.
Oh, that's Chris.
Chris and Judy.
They add a lot. Looks great, guys.
Excellent. Well,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Appreciate your call.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
And for those of you that don't know, the district in association with the teachers together agree contractually that we will be provided public instruction-related days, so we can go out into either the community or into a classroom setting to learn about different ways to teach, learn about different ideas that are out there, and share those ideas. A lot of teachers are in Helena today for the Missoula Education Association, Montana Federation of Teachers convention, and it's a chance to share some information. So it's a professional opportunity, and this is the opportunity that we chose to stay in town and to
Well, Gary, I'd like to add that in my class, I intend to have my students go through training here.
Right.
The television as a media would certainly apply to my subject area, and so I needed to come learn how to do it first.
Right,
That
and
was
of
really
course you're
exciting.
interested in,
That's right.
all citizens are interested in this type of work and come down here and sign up. I believe there's a waiting list, but it's well worth the wait, and you could do what we're doing.
Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, I'm a teacher in the district, and I was just wondering, how do you go about getting into this program? How do you sign up for the class? What's involved?
Well, you could contact the MCAT studios, and they would have a schedule and be able to give you that information on the details of how to take this course or when it is offered again. That 542. 542.
Right.
542 MCAT.
And is it open to everyone, not just teachers?
Exactly. Everyone in the Missoula community. Anyone.
Including students.
Including
Right?
students.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. And community access television has been around for a while now. It's usually worked in tandem between interested parties and local cable providers. So TCI Cable Vision, which is a cable provider here, if I'm not mistaken, funds a lot of the equipment here, and then there's a board of directors, I suspect, and an executive director who serves here, and it's open to the public. It's your link to get your message out. So it's freedom of speech, really, at its most crucial element. You don't have to go through a network or any special programming for it. So it's an excellent opportunity.
Caller, do you have some ideas of what you would want to do with this service? with
No, I
MCAT?
just wondered what children could do with it.
Well,
Judy could maybe address that.
Well, as I understand, you're able to check out the equipment, so your show doesn't have to be created here in the studio. Am I right?
Correct.
You could go out and do videotape.
Correct.
Or do live as we are doing. So I can just think of really you need to let the kids think of how they can use it. They really have a lot of great ideas, and if you sort of arrange the project and set them off, then they just take it and run. And I think it's a great experience for them. It's a means of communication that doesn't involve pen and paper, and
And MCAT does provide some folks to come into the schools, artist-in-residence program, so they show students how to use the equipment by bringing the equipment into the school. You could film there, you can sign the equipment out, so it's a great opportunity for everybody involved.
And as I recall, last spring, MCAT, in collaboration with some Big Sky students, produced a video on the Missoula Carousel and won a national award. So the opportunities are there. It's really endless.
Absolutely, and this has been a lot of fun. So Judy, where are you off to now? What part of the production crew are you taking over
I
now?
believe I'll go back on camera one. And
on camera one. So we're getting good at terminology now, aren't we? Just rolling off that terminology.
Yeah, and these guys that are producers are just doing a great job. It's interesting to be there and to hear this quiet voice in your ear telling you what to do.
Let's make sure we deal with the technology.
But before I go, though, there are some people that I asked to call in today, and I'm terribly upset that I haven't heard their calls yet. So
well, they're
get to that
enraptured
phone.
They're enraptured by what you've been saying, so they've been waiting with bated breath.
Please call Judy.
Yeah, well, you guys are doing a great job. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Thanks. And finally today we'll bring on Ken Colson. Ken has been generating characters, and I've always been told I lacked a personality, so I want to thank Ken for generating a character for me today. And so I'm getting these private little notes. They're written in Sanskrit, so I'll have to translate those a little bit later. But Ken is over at Rattlesnake Middle School. He teaches choral and general music, performs here in the community. Tell us a little bit about a concert that's coming up here at Rattlesnake School, and also about a program that Rattlesnake's already doing with MCAT. So
well,
where do you want to start?
Thursday night, October the 24th, 7 o'clock in our old gym, the Rattlesnake Choirs, that's the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade choirs, will be performing. We've been working since the beginning of school, and so they're ready to sing.
Sounds good. And 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And how many different groups will there be? One for each grade? Or?
Well, we have 4 groups. There's 2 6th grade choirs, 1 7th grade choir, 1 8th grade choir. And each group is doing different music. It's 8th grade choir is doing some 50s music. They'll come dressed 50s style. 7th grade is doing 70s style, and the 6th grade is doing just a mixture.
What is it about the 70s that's coming back in style? I mean, I don't
know.
To be
I've looked around the studio as we've been in here, and you see a lot of 70s dress.
Is that a good or a bad thing?
No, it just comes back. Every 20 years, you see the styles repeat.
It's amazing. I never thought we should keep on that stuff, but I guess now we could be rich with it.
You had asked about MCAT at Rattlesnake.
Right.
Betty Bennett teaches communication arts at Rattlesnake, and once a month, MCAT airs Eye on Rattlesnake, which is a program produced by Rattlesnake students in Mrs. Bennett's classes. She's the coordinator. She does a lot of help, but basically they do the work. They get the tape ready. They go around the school, interview people. They did some interviewing for the choir concert. Came into the choir room during classes, did some filming, and they'll edit that down. They did some talking with me. And then they'll take all of that, in addition to interviews with the principal and some of the grades, and they'll get a 30-minute program fully ready to go, and they bring the tape over here and they play it. And it will play Tuesday the 22nd.
And what's the response been like from folks? Why don't we hold on to that,
Go ahead.
and we'll answer a phone call here and see if we can get to that. But, well, maybe we won't. We'll wait for that phone call. But what has been the response so far from folks?
Well, a lot of people want to know what's going on. You can call in on the phones to the specific teacher and say what's going on, or you can once a month watch the program and just see. We have a good response.
How do kids feel about being on the TV?
They're awfully proud because they wear their their T-shirt that says it's KWN Kid Witness News Television, and when they do all of their interviewing, they wear the T-shirts, and it's a real. It's an important thing, and they do a good job at it. They take it very seriously. When I come by over lunch, you'll see the door shut and locked and a note on the door, taping, do not enter, and they're hard at work.
Sounds good. Well, let's see if we've got a phone call now. Do you want to punch this? Every time I punch it, something wrong happens. So we'll find out in a second about this. Here,
We have to wait.
we have to wait for the wonders of technology, I think is what it is. It's all magic, like we said before. You've been 3 years at Rattlesnake Middle School. Are you liking it pretty well?
Oh, excuse me.
I like it.
Okay.
Hello, caller. You're on the air.
When's the choir concert?
Good question.
Thursday night, October the 24th, 7 o'clock. Who is this? Tell me your name.
Caller, are you still there?
Jasmine,
Okay, Jasmine, what grade are you in?
6th,
6th. Where do you go to school?
Meadow Hill.
Meadow Hill. We'd still like for you to come. Now, you have a concert Tuesday night, the 22nd. So you need to go to your concert, then come Thursday night, the 24th, to our concert.
Okay.
What instrument are you playing these days, Jasmine?
What?
What instrument do you play in the band, or you're in chorus?
Choir.
In choir, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent work. So the 24th is the date?
24th is ours. The 22nd is Jasmine's concert. Jasmine, is Ms. Osmondson your teacher?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you like it?
Yeah.
She's a good teacher. Are you doing the Macarena too?
Well, not really.
Well, I think you're going to do it on your concert. I know we're doing it on ours too.
Well, I'll let you go.
Thank you for calling, Jasmine.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Always glad to talk to the other schools, students.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
It's-
Meadow Hill.
Instead of there being a rivalry, there's
Right.
a friendly sort of getting
Yeah.
along there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you, Ken. I believe that we want Mary Canty to say a few words for us. Thank
Mary's
you,
gonna
Ken.
join us.
And
Oh.
our next guest is Mary Canty, and she's the co-director for the MCAT studios here.
All right, Mary. I didn't understand the nature of these messages, so I'm glad you could join us today.
Yes, I'm assuming
And,
I
it
interpreted
was
that.
code, Gary. It was code.
It was. I'm assuming I interpreted that.
And thanks for joining us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And how's it been for you to have this whole thing going on?
Well, we're really impressed. Gwen and I keep saying, these guys are so together. We've had all sorts of folks, and ourselves included, starting out shows with 3 minutes of black, with no music, nothing going on. So we thought everything went really smoothly, and it's been a really nice group to work with for us.
Well, thanks,
Really
and
enjoyed
likewise. And what do you see as a future in a partnership with Missoula Public Schools? Or either what are programs now that you'd like to develop further, or ideas you'd like to promote in the future?
Well, one of the things, I worked for a few years as a media artist in the schools with the Montana Arts Council in the Missoula Public Schools when I was an independent producer. So as a result of that experience, I knew after we got started with MCAT that would be an option for Missoula area schools. So a few years ago, with the help of media artist Gwen Hoppy, we started the Media Artists in the Schools program with the 3 Missoula area high schools, and in 2.5 years worked with more than 600 students on student-oriented productions. So I feel like the students have become an increasing presence both at MCAT and on our channel. But I think that Gwen and I agreed, and so did the school system, that it would be nice if we did some things that were teacher-oriented too, so that teachers would have the link and maybe some concentrated time to figure out how MCAT works, and maybe that might generate some ideas for the future. This is a grant-operated program. We get some funding from the Montana Coal Trust. We get some funding from the Montana Arts Council, Missoula County Public Schools, and MCAT. So it's really considered a fairly unique partnership or co-op in the state of Montana.
And you're not restricted from content on the basis of getting money from any of these groups, however.
No, and that's what the success of the program has been, is that it has been truly student-oriented, that they have been encouraged to speak with their own voices via video. And so they've written poetry, they've done dramas. We are restricted in terms of obscenity and unlawfulness, and libel and slander. Those are the areas that we need to pay attention to. But besides that, in general, I would have to say they've been really encouraged to explore their their creative talents on television. We this year have 2 media artists in the schools, Rick Phillips and Joel Baird, and again, teachers and students who would like to be involved with that need to contact MCAT.
And Joel Baird's program is the oral history one that we mentioned previously.
Yeah, you talked about that. Oral history. Then the other really exciting news, and this is a first-time opportunity in this town too, is we're putting together a media art installation at the Missoula Museum of the Arts with the student productions, and the theme is the ideal room. So kids are working on productions that fit into that, and then when the museum show comes up, then there'll be TV monitors with different rooms constructed around the TV monitors, so it's a full art experience as well as the couple of dimensions of television.
And that's why you call it an installation. They've been around for a long time, but you see more of them now, where a little bit more participatory and less of just paintings on a wall. And
right. So there's more feelings to it and more dimensions. It's multi-dimensional.
And when will that be?
It opens at the Missoula Museum of the Arts April 4th, '97. So I want you teachers, too, to bring your kids down to the museum so that they have a chance to see the show.
And students might see their own stuff.
And students will see their own stuff, we promise.
We're going to thank people for being here today. We have time for one last caller real quick in less than 1 minute. No, we don't. Okay. Again, the wonders of modern technology. Our thanks to Mary Canny, Gwen Hoppy as well from MCAT, for Chris Kuschel and Gary Stein. Thanks for being with us today with Teachers on TV. And we hope to see you again. Have a pleasant afternoon.
Thanks.
That looks nice.
I had a chance to talk to him a couple times.
See, she looks good, so we don't really care what she says.
No, but you know what? This week is happy though, and is up and is confident.
I think you're going to need the mic
I mean,
closer.
going into beat, I think they're.
So, and I think you're going to need the people.
They have
Good
nothing to
matchup.
lose. Yeah, and it is a good matchup. Yeah. You know,
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and Peggy does. Let's go. Yeah, so we're going to check this out. Okay, can I hang up now?
Good evening and welcome to Teachers on TV, a joint production of Missoula Cable Access Television and individuals in the Missoula County Public Schools. I'm Gary Stein, and along with my co-host Chris Kuschel, we'll be bringing you information on events and projects taking place in our public schools. Your participation in this program is encouraged. This is a live call-in show, so if you have any questions or comments about Missoula's public schools, feel free to reach us at 542-MCAT. That number is 542-6228. While we welcome your calls, please remember to keep your comments in good taste. We hope you all know what that means. And in answering your questions, we are in no way expressing the views of the Missoula County Public School District, its Board of Trustees, or its individual employees. So how are you doing tonight, Chris?
Great, Gary. As you know, the name of our show is Teachers on TV. We're not sure that's the most appropriate name for this show, since many of our guests include administrators, students, other community members. So as you're watching the show tonight, if you can think of a better title for our show, give us a call at 542-MCAT, and that's 542-6228, with your suggestion. We'll consider any suggestions you have.
And we have nothing to raffle off. We have no prizes to give away, let's make that clear, but we thought we'd have a little fun with our second program. We appeared back in October, and the overwhelming response, and there is the overwhelming response, perhaps somebody is calling with a name already. But we want to get to our guest this evening and certainly welcome your comments as well.
Yes. Our first guest this evening is Susan Arthur. Susan Arthur is the Missoula County Public Schools Curriculum Coordinator, and she's here to talk to us tonight about the School to Work program. Susan, would you like to join us?
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm just fine.
Good to
It's a
see you.
pleasure to be here.
Great. Glad you could join us for our inaugural half-hour live program, and you're a brave woman indeed. Tell us a little bit about the School to Work program.
Well, the School to Work program was originally initiated and signed into law by President Clinton in May of 1994. And it's a bipartisan initiative that had begun during the Reagan and Bush years. And so we finally have it in law in 1994. And the purpose and the focus and the goal of that legislation is to produce the best educated citizens in the nation by the year 2000, and a workforce equal to any in the world by the year 2010. So it's actually legislation that combines education and workforce development.
Excellent. We already have a caller. Hello? Caller 2, you're on the air.
I guess we don't have a caller, although the operator has a lovely voice. How long has the program been in operation in Missoula?
Actually, in January of 1995, a grant was written by the YWCA, the local YWCA. They wrote just a small planning grant for, say, $3,000 to get the ball rolling for a School to Work initiative here in Missoula. And after they received that grant, the JSEC committee, which is the Job Service Employer Committee that represents employers' needs within the community, approached the school district and proposed developing a School to Work initiative. And part of that initiative, one of the unique things about it is because it is an education and workforce development proposal. It's a partnership built with the local school district, University of Montana, College of Technology, the local Chamber of Commerce, and local employers.
So it truly is a collaborative effort.
It is, right.
I think we have another caller. We'll give this another try. No?
We'll figure out the technology in the next aspect of the program, apparently.
Yes, if you do call, please hold. It might take us a minute to get to you again.
What's been your experience so far with the students that this seems to help the most, this program? It sounds like a lot of our students who maybe are on the margins are really going to benefit from this type of program.
Well, we hope so. We really haven't been involved in this initiative that long. We've basically been involved in the planning stages of that. Nationwide, well, let me give an example. Frenchtown, though, they did one component of the School to Work that they implemented last February was called Jobs for Montana Graduates. And it's a School to Work program focusing at-risk students. And they had just some challenges with some of their incoming freshman students not attending classes, high absentee rate, kids just, not seeing a purpose and reason for being in school. So they implemented a curriculum in February, and that curriculum was developed by the Labor Department in partnership with OPI, our Office of Public Instruction in Helena, and the Governor's Council. And they had kids that were begging to get into that program, and I think they're serving about 30 kids and have had some really successful results. Kids that are starting to really get involved in school, see the purpose of that, becoming involved in competitive leadership, organizations and activities, and have seen some real turnabouts in those kids. So we're not quite to that point yet, but we've got some plans here.
So if a student were interested in participating in the program, who would he or she contact? Or how would they go about getting enrolled in the program?
Well, if we're, some of the, what we had planned on initially doing was in August, we were going to pull together all interested parties. We had hosted, with the money from the grant, basically we had developed a marketing program where we were informing the community and parents and teachers of what school to work was. And we hosted 3 public forums to gather public input. And after gathering that input, the next phase in implementation was to bring together those employers, parents, community people, and teachers and administrators that had expressed commitment and interest in that program to develop a strategic plan. And we were going to spend about 3 days with a business consultant helping us to develop that plan. Unfortunately, that was about the same time that the tax protest went into effect, and so we cut anything that hadn't already, wasn't already in the works. And so we're saying we've postponed that. We haven't, just dropped it. But we decided that in the interim to move this agenda ahead, we would focus. Our focus this year would be two-pronged, and one of those focuses would be to continue to develop community, business, teacher and student awareness. And this is one of those opportunities to build a community awareness.
What would you say, this is a federal mandate, it sounds like, but it also sounds like there's a local component for funding. So you mentioned that a little bit of the tax revolt that has kept the program down. What is the funding source going to be, and is it a program that we'll look at year to year, or is it a program that we're trying to place long term?
With the legislation, there was some money in the form of competitive grants that states could apply for the implementation of School to Work. And only 7 states were funded with that first round of money. There will be another round of money that will be available to states to apply for this coming winter. And but in the interim, there were some small just planning grants, and I'm not sure whether those were from the federal government or whether those were just made available through the state of Montana. Right. Basically, there is, for Missoula, no money that's attached to it. So it's looking at the resources we presently have and working with our community and employers and making things happen. We don't see this as an additional program that we're adding something to something that already exists, but that we're building on some of those pieces that presently exist and expanding those and enhancing those for kids. The purpose of this whole program is to develop a K-12 system that will better prepare students for that next step after they graduate, so that what we're finding is to be competitive, students need more and a higher degree of education, but not necessarily a college diploma.
And the advantage is that it gives them an opportunity to apply skills and knowledge that they learn in the school system.
Exactly. We're hoping by, there's 3 components to a school-to-work system, and one of those components is school-based learning. One is work-based learning, where students would participate, say, in field trips, bus tours, job shadows, internships. So
they can be small or large scale.
They can be small or large scale. And they can, range from, in elementary school when you went to the fire station and climbed on the fire truck and, then talk about what those firemen.
Well, we'll interrupt you for a second. We'll get some examples from you.
Hey.
Apparently, there's a phone call now.
We have a caller. Hello?
Hi.
Caller? You're on the air. Do you have a question?
No, I just have a comment. I think Sentinel's a really good school, and the staff is really awesome, and that's why I made it through school. And I wouldn't have made it through without them.
Oh, well, thank you for commenting. What was there some specific area that you thought prepared you best?
No, just all my classes. I had Mr. Stein.
Oh, that's dangerous. Apparently, you got prepared and you still made it. We didn't do too much damage there, so that's pretty nice. Thank you for your comments, and thanks for listening as well.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
For a second, I thought we were on radio. Thanks for viewing, I guess, is that. There was, you gave some examples, so the young boy or girl in kindergarten or first grade who says they want to fight fires has the opportunity literally through this program. So you can formalize that process all the way through. If they follow through on that interest, they have a background already built in. I just wanted to ask you about students who are college bound, students who get great test scores and everything else. Does this program help them?
Well, definitely. And you might be interested in a few statistics. Nationwide, I believe that the percentage of students, high school graduates that go on to a four-year university is only about 25%. In Missoula, our percentage is about 50%, so we fare really well in that area. But unfortunately, of those 50% that go on to seek a bachelor's degree, only half of those ever attain that throughout their entire life.
And how does Montana do in that in respect to the national average?
You know, as far as kids completing a bachelor's degree, we don't know, and that's one of the things we need to find out. We are looking at surveying our kids that are maybe 2 years out to see what they are doing, because I think lots of times we have the perception that once they leave our doors, you know, and they say they're going to a four-year university, they're there until they finish, and that's not necessarily, you know, how it happens. Just having a couple of daughters myself in college, there seems to be a real bailout around after first term, first semester, and then another real bailout after their sophomore year. So the advantages I see is that a lot of our kids, even that do graduate from college, are still unemployed a year after they graduate. And let me just read you a few statistics on this. I didn't even realize this, and it was some information that was given to me a couple weeks ago. It says half of 1996 senior college graduates are expected to be unemployed in September, and half of this group is expected to still be jobless a year later. The proportion of new grads willing to work for free after leaving school to gain career-related experience has doubled in the last year. Over the next decade, 1 of 3 new grads are projected to be successful in finding work that requires their degrees. 1 of 3 Washington, D.C. metro area Domino pizza delivery drivers has at least a bachelor's degree. 1 of 3 working senior college grads would change occupations if starting over. So it just provides, students that are looking at college with the information, and experiences so that they can really focus on what they want to do as far as career-wise after college and what those job opportunities are. I've got 2 kids in college, and they're using college as a career awareness opportunity. Every semester, they change their major, and that just keeps, we're into the 5th year now, and at tuition, at the cost of tuition, I see real value and benefit, in a school-to-work program.
So there is a preparation process that's going on here as well.
And most college students work in part-time jobs while they're going to school, so it isn't that after they get out of high school they immediately go into the workforce, that maybe they go in the workforce part-time, or they do delay that through the college years.
What they're finding nationally is those that other 75% nationally that are not going to a four-year university seem to go through a series of entry-level, low-paying jobs, and then after about 10 years figure out, hey, I cannot support the lifestyle that I'd hoped that, I would be living in a family, on a minimum wage job, or trying to piece together 2 minimum wage jobs, and so usually, go back, and the average age of a community college student or an apprentice is 28 years old. So, but, they've lost 10 years in the interim, and our nation has lost 10 years of productivity.
Okay. How have we done nationally? I know we've got 7 other states who received the funding. Any reports on how they've done?
Oregon received quite a bit of funding and for School to Work, and they use that as a vehicle for school reform. Actually, they're one of the few states that had a legislative mandate from the state that they would restructure their entire educational system. So,
and Oregon's had a harder time than we have in fundraising, so they're ahead of the game.
Right. They had the legislative mandate, but at the other, end of the spectrum, some real, tax difficulties, in trying to support those efforts.
Okay. We have a
Before
caller.
we thank you and say goodbye, we have a caller, maybe a question for you.
Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Hello.
Good evening.
Do you have a question for us this evening?
Actually, I have 2. And I just wanted to say congratulations, Gary. You're on TV.
Yeah, wow. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well,
I think Chris is making me look good, so that's the best part of the show.
The finding out will be the fun part.
And the question?
These new program that this lady's talking about? She's a little vague about funding. No money.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
No money attached to this, or seed grants for that, or whatever. Is there some other way, conceivably, that you're going to pay for this program except through our taxes? And then I'll get off the line after my second question here. You were talking about percentage of graduates out of high school that actually attained a degree. And I was curious if you do find out that percentage in Missoula who actually get a degree, how that percentage would compare school to school. I'd be curious to know what percentage of Loyola graduates actually attain a degree.
Well, thanks for your question, and thanks for watching. I think I figured out who it was, but...
I figured you might.
No names, please.
See ya.
See ya.
Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you. Well, first I'd like to address your second question, and I think that is really important information, and we've talked about ways to gather and collect that information, but it is, essential that we know where our graduates are, because we can, what we offer in high school needs to be in alignment, with not what we think our graduates are doing, but what they are actually doing. As far as funding, that is just a really difficult question. Again, we don't see this as an add-on program, but, as far as school-related, what's going on in the classroom, we see an opportunity for teachers to start making connections for kids where they would see the connection between what they're doing in the classroom and what they're doing. Say, if the teacher takes them out on a job shadowing experience or they go on a field trip, we bring guest speakers into the classroom, and that they make curriculum more relevant. We as teachers have a tendency to do a lot of theory and teach a lot of theory, but we don't necessarily teach applications.
Right.
And it sounds to me as though you're coordinating existing services.
Right.
And avoiding duplication and thus excessive costs.
Right, and just changing the way maybe we present information to a student. So I don't see it as a high-cost program.
Great. Well, we definitely want to thank you for coming on tonight and for being on our maiden voyage, as it were, and being very brave that way. And we wish you continued success with the program.
Okay, appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks. Have a good evening. Our next couple of guests, I'm not sure where we're at right now, but our next couple of guests are from Sentinel High School. There's a peer mediation program that's taking place at Sentinel High School. We'd like to introduce you to Joe Fisher, who's an instructor in social studies, U.S. history, criminology, and sociology at Sentinel High School, and Danelle Graham, a student at Sentinel High School, to talk about a peer mediation program. So we'll take care of the logistical problems here. Oh, here they come. Thanks for being with us. Good to see you.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
see you, Danelle.
Nice to see you.
Hello. How's it going?
Hi.
So, peer mediation, I think we've heard about it on some commercials on TV locally here in town, and I don't know if a lot of people know what the program is all about. So why don't you tell us from, I don't know who wants to go first, but from a student perspective and from a teacher perspective.
Well, I can start it off. At Sentinel High School for about the last, I guess we were figuring about the last 2.5 years, we've had in place a peer mediation program. And simply stated, this program is about trying to give young people the skills or the tools to deal with conflicts, and really the whole emphasis is really on coming up with effective solutions to conflicts. And it is exciting to be here because I am real excited about the program, because really one of the defined objectives of education is to solve problems. And for the people who are actual peer mediators like Danelle, she has an opportunity to learn very valuable skills. And certainly the people who decide that they would like to have a conflict mediated, they have an opportunity to address their problems and come up with issues. But there's no question that this program is student-centered, and I think most of the questions should probably be directed to Danelle, because this program goes because of students like Danelle who have the skills to help people.
It's basically students helping other students solve their problems, because a lot of students are really intimidated by adults and feel that adults are out to get them, and so this helps them to deal with people of their own age.
And what grade are you in now, Danelle?
I'm a junior.
And how long has the program been in effect? How long have you been with it? And what have you learned about the ins and outs of the program?
I was trained spring of my freshman year, and then last year as a sophomore, it was when it was really started, and we did quite a few mediations, and then this year it's started up again.
Do you see a lot more students being involved in the program than when you just started, or more aware of the program?
Not
and
really. People
getting
don't know
involved?
quite about it yet. It's still pretty new.
When does your training take place during the day?
Well, we trained the first year, it was after school, about we had between 15 and 18 hours of training. And then every year we do retrainings for about 3 hours. And so we're always refreshed.
I see.
And get the new ideas.
What have you seen being the advantages? I mean, in addition to mediating these conflicts, are there any advantages in terms of skills that you've picked up along the way that'll help you in other areas?
Definitely. We've learned good listening skills and how to communicate with others and to help other people with everyday problems.
We'll put those skills to the test, I guess.
Yes, we have a caller. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
We think.
You think? Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Those dial tones speak in many different languages these days.
They probably have a conflict and they mediate it right now.
Yeah, we could do that, couldn't we, I suspect? Sure. We have trained professionals here in the studio to mediate your conflict.
Absolutely.
And there's, and feel free to call back, right? 542 MCAT, 542-6228, is that correct? Okay, I never remember those numbers. How long's the program been in effect? Did you answer that question already?
At Sentinel High School, the program's been in effect for about 2.5 years, but mediation itself has been used for years and years in other school districts. And really the Missoula model, the one that was brought to us really through the dedicated work of Montana mediators, and it was really the brainchild of Art and Kitty Lussey, have brought this idea to Missoula. And so about 2.5 years at Sentinel High School, and right now we have mediation programs going in the other 2 high schools, Big Sky and Hellgate, the Missoula County high schools, and I think works are in progress for Sealy, and also our middle schools have started to use this. And that's really important because it's really a longitudinal process, in that if we can have students trained and understand it at the younger ages, I think we'll see more people willing to use it when they get into high school.
What are the types of conflicts? Well, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but are there conflicts you've heard about at the junior high or middle school level, or are you only familiar with these high school ones so far?
Right.
And what are the nature of those?
High school, it's usually rumors between friends, and there's a lot of boyfriend-girlfriend triangle type things that go on. Every once in a while there's guys that have problems fighting. They just generally don't get along, but most of it's rumors.
And it's real important for the viewers to understand that as a supervisor of this program, I do not expect Danelle to be a counselor. And there are certain issues that we absolutely will not mediate. And I believe in a moment Danelle will talk about the ground rules for mediation. And it's very important that if, for example, a drug or alcohol issue came up, the disputants would know that that's something that we are required to get to another person who can deal with it.
To go
not
beyond
appear
mediation there.
Beyond mediation.
Okay.
We got another one?
We have a call.
Apparently we do have a call.
Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Hi, I teach English at Sentinel High School, and I'm having a conflict with a couple of history teachers. I'm just curious.
Well, can we leave now?
If I was wondering if is there anything you can do for the staff? Can we peer mediate problems among staff members?
All kidding aside, do you perceive that there are problems among staff that need to be mediated?
I have a particular problem with one history teacher with a funky ponytail thing.
Well, it's good to get these phone calls from friends. I think this is, the background chatter from the bleachers.
Well, I think we could really build on that in all seriousness, because we're directing this at Sentinel High School towards teens, but I certainly think that mediation goes well beyond that, and hopefully if people can learn to deal with conflicts at a younger age, then they don't become a problem later.
That's a well-taken point, Danelle. That might be the best lesson of the whole peer mediation program. We thank you for your call, though. We appreciate that. Okay. Danelle, why don't you tell us a little bit about the ground rules for the program?
Okay. What we do is we tell the disputants that we're there, we're not judges, and we're not there to, be a jury or tell them you're right, you're wrong. We just kind of help them get their feelings out and their ideas out. And if they can't talk to the other party, they can talk through us, so that one person will talk to me and the other disputant will talk to my partner. and we'll kind of act as an in-between. And we feel that it's really important for them to come up with their own decisions, and so we'll just ask questions that will get them moving along and help them to decide what they want out of it. And then they come up with the resolution, and we let them know that they can't call each other names, put downs. They can't go on rumors. They need to say what they know, and just kind of say what they feel and they can't lie. That's really important, that they say what they mean.
And it's important for you to understand that this is a complete voluntary process. So, for example, I noticed that you two were having a conflict earlier, and if Danelle and I were the chosen peer mediators in this situation, we typically sit at a round table and we ask people who are having a conflict to speak through the mediators. For example, you would be able to go first and speak, and there would be no interruptions and no talking down to the person. And Danelle and the other peer mediators have great ears in that they really listen and have helped kids to get beyond a lot of periphery issues and get down to maybe the real cause of the conflict. And I think that's the real skill, and it's unquestionably a lifetime skill.
Been easy to be confidential with some of these things that you hear? I mean, that must be difficult.
For the most part, it's pretty easy. We are able to talk with our partner about it for a little bit, but we don't ever use names. We don't ever bring it up again. And it's difficult, but all the peer mediators in it are really good at keeping the confidentiality.
Well, that's great.
And I think it's also important to understand that this is a great way to deal with conflicts without having one person impose on you. As Danelle mentioned earlier, typically in a high school, if there's a dispute between two students, the dean sits them down and says, this is what we're going to do. And it's very efficient, but it's not necessarily effective. And Danelle makes a great point in that students are allowed to see the issues and come up hopefully with an effective solution. We don't try to fix everything, but it's effective, and they write it down and seal it, and hopefully it goes well.
Sounds good. Well, we wish you luck with the program, obviously, and having to work with you in the school, I hope we don't get into any sort of conflicts and we need Danelle to mediate. So.
There's an English teacher that you may have to deal with.
That's absolutely true, and we'll make sure to all three of us take care of that, and we'll get some administrative support on that. Our thanks tonight to Susan Arthur, Curriculum Coordinator for MCPS, to Joe Fisher and Danelle Graham, participants in the peer mediation program at Sentinel High School. We'd like to thank you for tuning in this evening. We'll repeat this program tomorrow afternoon at noon, prime viewing time, and perhaps you'll join us again. We'd like to thank our crack staff who put the program together, Gwen Hoppy and Mary Canty here at MCAT, our director, Ray Curtis, we couldn't live without him. Cameras, Judy Rainey and Nancy Typinski. Ken Colson was on the character generator, and our set decorator and best boy was Peggy Cordell. For Chris Kushel and all of us, I'm Gary Stein. Thanks again, and have a pleasant evening. Good evening, and welcome to Teachers on TV, a presentation of Missoula area educators. Opinions expressed on this program are exclusively the individuals and in no way represent the opinions of the Missoula County Public Schools. I'm your host, Gary Stein, and normally Chris Kushel would join me here by my side, but Chris was not able to make it tonight, so we will try to persevere without her this evening. Since our last program in November, students and employees of the district enjoyed a winter holiday break. We enjoyed ourselves, and we have started on what will hopefully be a fruitful and healthy 1997. Our crew here would like to extend its warmest wishes to you and yours for the new year. We'd also like to extend an invitation to you to participate in our program by calling in. Apparently someone has taken us up on the invitation, whether you'd like to ask a question or to voice an opinion. Our number here is 542-MCAT. That's 542-6228. And as always, please keep your comments within the confines of good taste. Before we talk to our guests this evening, we do have some information from the school district to pass along. The 13th annual Newspapers and Education Week workshop will be Saturday, January 25th from 9 a.m. to noon at the Missoulian. Melody Smith from the Target Range School will be presenting Teaching Life's Lessons from Obituaries. There will be free materials, hands-on projects, and a tour and refreshments. Registration is limited. Sign up, please, by January 21st. Call Lynn Schwanke for details at 523-5310. A two-day workshop, Project Adapt, will be January 29th and February 26th from 8:30 a.m. till 3:30 p.m. at Porter Schools. Pre-registration is required for this program. If you're interested, please call Nancy Marks at Big Sky High School, 728-2401. Working with Docs is the next IDEA PTA presentation next Tuesday, January 21st, from 7 till 9 p.m. in the Sentinel Library. And if you're interested, all you need to do is to show up for the next IDEA PTA meeting. And finally, Teaching Tough Adolescents is the second teleconference in the Reaching the Tough to Teach series. It'll be Tuesday, January 28th in the Big Sky Library from 7 till 9 p.m. And you are also asked to call Nancy Marks at Big Sky High School for more information. Joining us this evening from the Missoula City Police Department is Mark Muir. Mark is been on the force here in Missoula for 6 years, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gary.
Also,
pleasure to be here.
And Happy New Year to your family
Likewise.
and to everyone else. We're talking tonight about a program that is new, but it has a little slice of the old to it. It doesn't have a name, nothing fancy we can call it, but maybe we'll come to that conclusion tonight. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this new program in the department?
You bet. You're right, it is an unnamed program that we have, it's just in its infancy stages, and we're about to begin and embark on what will hopefully be a very successful cooperative effort with the local high schools. Through monies provided through a federal grant, the Missoula Police Department is going to be assigning 6 officers who have volunteered for the assignments to go out to the high schools and spend time in a positive approach to making contact and developing a more positive image and giving a positive outlook to law enforcement to our area teens.
Where did the, I was interested in hearing the presentation yesterday at Sentinel High School from one of your fellow officers, and I noticed that some of our more senior members in the school were nodding their heads, and they remember a time when the police were a regular presence at the school, not in any negative way, but to walk the halls and to fraternize to some degree with students and teachers alike. Is this a throwback to an old program? Is it new? And what's sort of where did this come from?
I'd say it's a throwback in a way. It's a recognition of the fact that we have maybe been forced to set aside some of the time that we used to use for things like that have now become tied up in other matters that have the immediacy needs or the immediate needs of the law enforcement efforts. And this is something that since it comes from an outside source, it's a service or a program that we can implement without having a direct effect on the other services that we provide to the city of Missoula.
So this in no way interferes with some of those other services that the
None
department already
whatsoever.
provides?
This is over and above that, and it's funded, as I say, through this federal block grant.
And that's probably a question that some of our viewers have. The costs are borne mostly by the federal block grant from the Omnibus Crime Bill of last year or the year before?
Yes, so 1996, the Omnibus Appropriations Act is what has made this program possible, along with other programs. in the school system and throughout the community that are going to be put in place or are already in place as we speak.
We've been hearing a lot at the national level, even at the local level, about youth and crime, almost as if they're, they go hand in hand now. We know that that's certainly not true, and we can certainly talk about the good side of our youth. But what was the, what is the scene in Missoula in terms of the activities of youth? While we don't want to stress the negative, it's certainly out there.
I think our youth here in Missoula are typical of the cross-section that we would find throughout the nation. We have children who are in trouble. We have children that are star performers, not only scholastically but athletically, and are very, very socially conscious. We have others who have, through maybe no fault of their own, grown up to be less than the ideal student, less than the ideal citizen. We want to try and acknowledge and help both sides of that coin. We are hoping that in doing this, by being there before these kids get in trouble, that we might have the ability to help steer them in the right direction or help give them some guidance, help their teachers, help them. The school is a good place, we feel, for us to have that positive contact where we aren't running into them in a confrontational manner.
Now, you sound like you're fairly enthusiastic about the program. Do you have a particular interest in either youth issues in the police department? What got you interested in this program?
Absolutely. This is something to me that I felt was very worthy of the extra time that it would take above and beyond my normal work. I feel that it's a time that if I can spend it well, and if I can save even one youth or spare that youth from problems down the road as an adult, when I might have to deal with him in a negative way, I've kind of helped myself and my fellow officers alleviate some of those future problems.
Do you feel that this program may help? We talked a little before the show about the proactive nature of the program. You're getting in early and maybe helping someone out before they go down the wrong avenue. Have you found a history of that in law enforcement, either locally or from any statistics you have nationally, where that early introduction of whether it's the authority figure or whether it's the guidance aspect of it, that this does in fact help? Or is there anything you can back it up with?
Well, it certainly has a positive effect for police officers as far as respect for law enforcement. We even have a program in effect right now in the grade school stages, the Adopt-A-Cop program, where we've got officers who are going out and spending time in the schools, out on the playground, reading to the kids, just to help them understand that we actually are there to help them. And the younger we start with them, the better, but it's never too late for them to keep from falling through the cracks, and we want to keep that effort going right on up through the time that they become adults and beyond.
And going back to the Adopt-A-Cop program at the elementary levels, what have you seen? First of all, how long has the program been around?
The Adopt-A-Cop program has been going for a number of years. I would think just about as long as I've been on the department. And it has been met very successfully. Gotten a lot of positive support from the educators. We have kids who, all the time will, when you bump into them, do you know Officer so-and-so? Because they've had contact with that person. The DARE program is another one that also has been going on in the schools that has provided the same type of thing. And when we see that sort of positive contact with kids, when you're walking into a grocery store or walking on the street, and you see these kids and they talk to you and they recognize you as a person, it means a lot to law enforcement officers.
Do you find that going up now to the high school level that, I know the program is brand new, but have you found instances where the youth you may stop for a traffic infraction or even something more serious than that on a Friday night up and down Higgins Street, for example, or the River Trail or any of those places, that they're more willing and likely to engage with you in a positive way when you're at a school place or when you're at their location, their turf, so to speak.
We're hopeful and optimistic that that'll be the case, that even those young individuals who we have encounters with that are less than positive, where maybe a youth's been cited for something, or and they didn't feel comfortable talking to you when they were out on the street and they felt that you were in control, that maybe that same youth will come back to you if you bump into him in the hall, if you take the time and effort to recognize him and how you doing, talk to him and see what progress he's made since the last time you talked to him. We're hoping that being on their turf, that this might open things up and let them talk with us a little more without it being so confrontational.
Sounds great. Can you picture or maybe take us through what you perceive to be a day? I mean, you just got into school at, I don't know what time you'd be getting there, but what do you see yourself doing, and how do you see your day going?
Well, the program's going to allow for each of the 6 officers to spend about 4 hours a week in the schools. This isn't a full-time thing by any means, but it's a start towards building these relationships. And what I would hope that each of us could do is spend some time in classes, spend some time at athletic events, go into study halls where the kids might have some time to bring up and discuss things, and actually have the opportunity to pull you aside and say, I've got a problem, I'd like to talk to you about this. To meet them in the halls and keep an eye out, of course, for kids that are having not as much luck in keeping up with everybody else in school. We'd like to think that we can be there to help the students, be there to help the educators. We're not there as disciplinarians per se, but then again, we are law enforcement officers, and if crimes are committed, we'll have to look at those rather than look away from those instances. And so we're hopeful that we're not there to spy or to investigate crimes per se. We're there hopefully to just build a positive feeling between the students.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Is there a possibility that the impression of the students is going to be, at first anyway, is this sort of, they're checking me out, next thing you know, lockers and dogs, and now we're living in a police state, I mean, this fear of authority that may exist, and has there been any discussion of that as a possible immediate response in any way to react to that?
Absolutely. We recognize that there could be some distrust of that. One of the schools I know is going to be contacting parents by way of a letter to let them know more about the programs, to ease some of those fears. And I think as we get into this program, it's going to be up to us to generate the trust and to prove that we're there to do what we say we're there to do.
Right, so not spying on people and doing those things, right?
Absolutely. We're there to try and help. At the same time, if we're developing the trust of the kids, they may be coming to us with problems that they have in school or that they recognize in school, and those things may eventually lead to ourselves or other people having to deal with problems that require the direct involvement of law enforcement.
Before we talk with Mark Muir from the Missoula City Police Department for a little while longer, we want to remind you that this is a live call-in program. You're invited to call us at 542-MCAT, 542-6228. You can ask Mark a question, you can ask me a question, you can make comments, you can do whatever you like, because that is the nature of Missoula Cable Access Television. And we do invite you to participate with us. Outside of the police department and outside of the presentation we've gotten at the schools, any word from any of the other either organizations that work with youth, especially troubled youth, or from the mayor's office, city council, about the go-ahead for this program? The level of enthusiasm, I guess, is what I'm asking about.
Well, I can tell you that the program came about as the result of the block grant, as we talked about earlier, but that there was a committee of community people involved in deciding how that block grant would be spent. And it involved the chief of police, persons from the youth sector, people from judiciary, attorneys, correctional, that we had private citizens, The mayors or the city had people on it as well, and those people were the founders or developers of this, and it received a lot of support from them. This is something that we hope will be well received. The county has had now a school resource officer in place out at Frenchtown High part-time, and they likewise have had very good things to say about that, and we hope to kind of mimic that in terms of the success. At this point, the funds, as we say, are limited, so the time that can be spent in the schools is limited, but it's a place to start and for us to begin building some of that trust and to break down some of those barriers.
Any plans to extend the program to Seeley Lake immediately or in the future? Or?
I don't know what the county's program is for the Seeley Lake area, whether they have had the opportunity to determine what funding is available there or not. I know that the resident deputies up there do make themselves available to the school for various things.
Right. I guess I wanted to go sort of back to something, maybe. I hope we don't repeat ourselves, but we've been hearing in the news nationally a lot about youth and crime, and you mentioned that before. And we've heard also about programs that police departments around the country have used. The midnight basketball seems to be the most popular one of those programs. Was this program for Missoula specifically the brainchild of Missoula area residents? Was it modeled on some other programs? And can you describe, or do you know of, any other programs in the state or nationally that are working right now?
In many areas of the country, there are actually, the school districts are actually paying for police officers to be in the school full-time. In those instances, much more of it tends to lean towards enforcement, towards helping deal with disciplinary problems, but also to act as a community resource officer or school resource officer, where that person is there to help with law enforcement related activities that are generated in the school, where the school has less ability to deal with some of the kids if they are a discipline problem. They've gone through the normal channels of discipline. They're committing acts that are illegal and fall within the jurisdiction of local law enforcement. But as far as just going out to the schools and having it be just a positive approach, not necessarily going in to try and be disciplinarians, that's not our goal. Here we hope that the school will each of the schools will still take care of and work through their normal disciplinary channels, but we're there to take care of any problems. If a fight breaks out during the time that any one of us is at the school, you can darn well bet that we're going to be there, first of all, to break it up and make sure that nobody's hurt, and then to look into the situation and try and resolve it as best we can.
What have you seen? You've been on the force 6 years, been in Missoula before that time, though, in business.
Right.
What have you noticed or seen anecdotally, anyway, about the changing nature of Missoula's youth? You mentioned before that we're probably pretty typical in a lot of ways. That may be a good or bad thing, but let's talk about the changes that are red flags, maybe, things that concern you the most.
Well, some of the things that have gotten the most media attention in the last few years, of course, have been along the lines of gang violence or youth violence. We certainly do see that as a prominent part of the youth crime. That and property crimes committed by youths rank right up there as two of our most important concerns about youth criminal activities. But what we see is that it's an escalation of things that, while it might have been dealt with by a fight back, where two kids would have gone to blows and had a little fist fight 15, 20 years ago, now things have progressed and we're seeing more incidents of aggravated assaults where there's either serious bodily injury being done or one person brings a baseball bat and the next guy brings a knife and this type of thing. And those are very, very much a concern to us. And the department is allocating additional resources all the time to work in those areas as far as investigating those types of things and looking for ways to solve those kind of problems.
And obviously working within the constraints of local and state budgets, which are always present. And
Absolutely.
Near as I can figure out, and I'm not asking you to take a political stand here, it doesn't appear that our police department or the force is going to be increasing by any leaps and bounds as a response to any of these problems in the near future.
Well, certainly it's very difficult for the police department to grow with the constraints that we have on taxation and things like that. The size of the community is growing all the time, and that presents additional difficulties with the annexations, that type of thing. So we don't anticipate any major growth, yet we continue to look forward to new programs if we can get those additional people. Right. We'll try to put them into the most effective roles that we can. And we're not necessarily looking for more people to handle the traditional law enforcement.
Okay, we'll interrupt you here, and I think if technology works, we'll take a call from line 1 here. Good evening. Welcome to Teachers on TV.
Hi, I've been watching your show and enjoying it. I do have a question in part because I'm thinking about this upcoming national holiday, Martin Luther King Day. And I'm wondering if you and the officer can reflect on what level of racism are students either perpetrating or experiencing in school, and how are teachers and law enforcement in this community dealing with that issue. And I'll just hang up. I'll listen to your answer on TV.
Great, thanks. I think I'll handle the technology here as well. If it starts beeping, I'll fix it. But Mark, I'll let you handle that first.
Okay. Well, I'm hopeful. I don't honestly have an answer for you at this point. Whether I don't have a good grasp on what the racism is by the students, what their feelings are on racism, and I hope that those are some of the kind of things that we can begin to develop some feeling for. I think by the fact that we have not been in the schools as much, we've been pulled away by other more immediate needs, that we've kind of lost touch with some of the feelings of the student body, and that's what we look to see. As far as crimes and as they relate to racism and things of that nature, I haven't seen any real change in that during the 6 years that I've been here. I don't think the racism exists any more so within the youth environment than it does in the adult environment. We all know that there are problems with that, and they occasionally surface more so in one area or another, but it hasn't been a specific problem that's been brought to my attention.
As far as the schools go, caller, I'm somewhat dismayed. I mean, there are good days and there are bad days. Generally speaking, and I'd probably agree with Mark that our students are fairly typical and fairly open-minded. I find the students to be generally more open-minded than some of the parents, because as we've gotten older, we've become fixed in our ways. There is some concern that, in addition to just racism of a black and white nature, that it's going in so many different directions. We almost have a web of isms: racism, sexism, ageism. And there does seem to be, one of the reasons I'm excited as a teacher for this program that Mark's talking about is that maybe we can get a level of conversation going where we can talk about what we were actually thinking instead of these generalized stereotype statements. So I hope that's a good enough answer for you. It is definitely a concern in the schools. I know a number of teachers are working on it within the curriculum as much as they can.
That's great.
I think we have a call on line 1, so we're going to find out here in 1 second. Hi, if there is a call on line 1, thanks for calling. Teachers on TV.
There is a call. I was wondering about the policemen having a gun in the schools. Will they keep their gun on, or will they be fully outfitted?
Yeah, we will be working in the school in our regular uniform, and part of that is that we want them to become accustomed to us being there in the manner that we prevalently work in. It's very important to us that they accept us as we are, as we want to accept them as they are.
Okay, thanks. Good show.
Thank you, and thanks for the comment and the question. We want to, with the time we have remaining, thank Mark Muir for being here. Mark from the Missoula City Police Department, talking about, thank you, our fine director, Peggy Cordell, reminding me of the technology. Mark Muir from the Missoula City Police Department informing us of a new program. Maybe we will come up with a name in the next couple of minutes. And if not, we do want to remind you about our show, Teachers on TV. We'll be repeating tomorrow, January 17th at noon. And our next program for Teachers on TV will be Thursday, February the 20th at 7:30 p.m. Before we give you more information, we do have a call. We have time that is limited, but thanks for calling Teachers on TV. What can we do for you?
Well, thanks for putting this on. It's a nice looking set. I'd like to ask you and the officer if you guys are up to speed or if you have any information at all on neurobehavioral effects. Dr. Doris Rapp from Buffalo, New York has been talking about the behavior of students from bad school air and changes in handwriting, which are pretty profound, and aggressive behavior. And I'm wondering if the police department is aware of this and if the schools are doing anything about it.
This is an entirely new subject to me, but it's something that sounds interesting. I hope that I would be able to look into that and see if there's any validity to this. And
I am, actually, I know barely more than Mark, it sounds like, because I've read about it marginally, but I know of no plan that the school is engaged in now or the school district. You know, we get into a nature versus nurture argument all the time about what's causing student behavior, and I think schools generally rely on the nurture argument that environment creates certain behaviors, but we certainly have a lot of people, especially through our special ed programs, that are very aware of various biological and genetic causes to behavior. Great question. I wish we had a better answer for you, and I wish we had more information. And you're certainly welcome to call the district and provide any information that's available. Can't believe we're
to the police department.
I can't believe we're running this short on time, and people have decided to call. Thanks for the call. We'll have to keep it short. And what can we do for you?
I had another question about taking guns into the school.
Go ahead.
I was just wondering about reasons of why you might need to have guns in the school, and maybe the message that some of the kids get from seeing that you maybe have to have them and what you might do with one.
Well, I guess the best way I can answer that is that any time that I am working as a police officer, I do have an obligation to protect everyone. There is not necessarily any one safe environment. We have had guns come into the schools, and I can't say that it would be any less likely with our being there or any more likely with our being there. We treat the firearm just as a tool. It's nothing more. We give it as little attention as possible as far as when we have contacts with people. It's not our desire to use it in any way to intimidate people.
I could tell you at the schools what we've had is remarkable success. Students really don't pay attention to the guns. The prevalence of them in Montana leads to that probably. With the time remaining, I want to thank Mark for being here. Finally, for you this evening, remind you that Martin Luther King Day is Monday, and while banks, government offices, and schools will be enjoying the day off, we hope that all of you will take at least a few minutes to reflect on the significance of the holiday. Dr. King was not, as some people think, a great African-American hero. He was and is continuing to be a great American hero. His vision, his ideas are at the very heart of what is good in our country. To use the words of Abraham Lincoln, Dr. King spoke to the better angels of our nature. To commemorate Dr. King's holiday, MCAT will be presenting a special day of human rights programming on Monday, January 21st. That will be at 11 a.m. Facing the Threats, Organizing for Justice in the Northwest. Speakers include Morris Dees from the Southern Poverty Law Center. That program will repeat at 5. Also at 5 p.m., the Jeanette Rankin Peace Resource Center will be presenting speakers, music, and the documentary King, Montgomery to Memphis. That is at the First Methodist Church, if memory serves me correctly, 300 East Main. I'm Gary Stein for Teachers on TV. Thanks to Mark Muir. Thanks to all of our staff, and thank you for being with us this evening.